Azrin is a General Manager in TNB Energy Services. He has vast experiences in research and development, project management, and implementation of high technology areas. His responsibilities include catalyzing industry and markets to encourage energy efficiency and renewable energy, with focus in the area of electric mobility covering buses, cars, two-wheelers, as well as the charging infrastructure and ecosystem to support widespread adoption of electricity vehicle. Please give a hand to Azrin from TNBES.
Thank you, Zizi. Now, can I just, it's extremely dark out there, I don't know what you guys are doing. Now, just maybe to wake everyone up, can I see a show of hands? How many of you drive an electric car or a plug-in car? This is absolutely pathetic. Come on, Mr. Narendra, I know you drive a plug-in car. Has anyone driven an electric car? You may not own one, but you know, if you've test drove one, some people have given you a chance to drive one. TNB has 2 Teslas at the HQ. None of you have ever had a chance to drive it? Poor thing. Anyway, right, electric mobility, this is something that is very close to my heart. I've been working on this for a good part of 20 years. I would like to share with you some of the perspectives of why electric mobility is extremely important. I may not touch too much on blockchain. I think we've heard quite a lot of blockchain since this morning. But of course, before that, sedikit pesanan dari pihak penaja. We are present outside next to Project Maverick. You can see our Mavi home energy management system and also our charge EV charging stations. So yes, very, very quickly. Now, if you notice my title just now, electric mobility is to correct a 100-year disruption that is to correct a 100-year mistake. Why is it a mistake? Now, the electric cars actually came first. The cars as you know it today actually came later on. Electric cars were the ones who first entered the market right up until 1912. There were more electric cars than there were internal combustion engine cars. But what happened? Henry Ford happened. Oil and gas happened. And as electrical engineers, I think most of you are electrical engineers, we were not very good at making good batteries. Up until today, I think we still don't make very good batteries. So, but it's getting there, but this is what happened about 100 years ago. Thankfully, this is starting to change now. We are seeing things develop quite rapidly, and hopefully we can correct that 100-year-old mistake. Now, why do I say it is a mistake? Well, let me propose to you 3 key points on why electric mobility is extremely important. First of all, electric mobility gives you clean air. Now, I wanted to get some of you to sort of share the experience of driving an electric car, but since there was no hands, well, very little hands that went up just now, let me just share with you. When I started driving an electric car, one thing I do not miss is having the fumes, exhaust fumes blowing into my house every single morning and letting my children breathe that very, very toxic air. And that is just my house. And if you look at what happens in the world right now, these numbers came from OECD. 1 person dies every 5 seconds because of air pollution. You may think that the car is just one small part of the whole thing. But imagine, Malaysians, we as Malaysians, we buy at least 550,000 new cars every single year. That is a lot of cars. That is a lot of smoke that is being put onto the roads. And all these cars, most of them are driven in the cities. Where do we live? We live in cities. And the air pollution, although you do not notice it right now, but we do not want to be the next Beijing, we do not want to be the next Shanghai, where people are really, really motivated to do something about it. Why? Because it is extremely bad. People go around wearing masks. And this is why electric mobility is extremely important for us to work on. And of course, because of that health problems, you have productivity problems, we need to spend more on healthcare in order to correct that mistake. Now, the next proposition is energy efficiency. So as TNB Energy Services, we are pushing heavily on energy efficiency. But looking at electric mobility, electric cars, if you compare a normal internal combustion engine car and electric car, there is a difference of about 25%. An electric car, you can convert energy and have a result of 40% primary energy remaining for you to use to propel your car. Compare that to a diesel engine, that gives you only 15%. When I first looked at these numbers, I was absolutely shocked. We have been living with 15% for so long. That is an absolutely silly way to waste energy. Why are we doing this? And there is a very good alternative now, drive electric, and you can bump it up to 40%. Now, let's look at the distance that you can travel with the amount of energy. With the same amount of energy, using an electric car, you can actually almost double the distance that you can travel just by switching from using petrol or diesel to using electric. And if you look at the CO2 emissions, some of you may have come across the subject of global warming, where CO2 emissions is a very important thing. Again, looking at our fuel mix that we have now, we've done some of these calculations, and there is a huge difference between the emissions between an internal combustion engine car and an electric car. There are, of course, some parties that are publishing facts that are saying that when there is too many electric cars, you will need more coal power plants, and we can show this is not true. And at the same time, we are not going to live with coal power plants forever. There are other alternatives that is coming on board very rapidly. Solar, wind, well, maybe not wind from Malaysia, but there are a lot of other renewable energies that are coming on board as well. So these are the things that help propel the subject of electric mobility further. Now, the third one is, of course, climate change. Across the world, there are so many efforts that is being done right now in order to push forward the subject of electric mobility. Malaysia, we have not been so fortunate for some reason or other. It's a bit slow. We went into the subject quite early on, but others have sort of went ahead and gone further than us. But nevertheless, this is a global movement. The Paris Agreement, some of you may have heard about the Paris Agreement. This is a commitment of many countries in the world that we need to reduce the CO2 emissions such that, this is something that all countries have to do in order to tackle climate change. And the fact is, every 3 minutes in the world, a customer is switching from an internal combustion engine to an EV. Just imagine that every 3 minutes, the guy who is selling the normal internal combustion engine car is losing one customer, and the guy selling the electric car is actually gaining a customer. You've all heard about Tesla. Yes, they are making huge strides. Yes, of course, they are also having some problems. But these are the kind of things that will come and really catch us by surprise. And we just need to prepare ourselves in order to cope with it. Now, let me just share with you some of the facts on the difference between technologies. We just did a quick comparison between an electric car and some of the hybrids, some of the small internal combustion engine cars, and a large hybrid car. So the difference here is absolutely immense in terms of the amount of CO2 that is emitted. When you compare an electric car with a hybrid car even, there is emissions on the road, there is also emissions in terms of the fuel and energy production. And as the car size grows, of course, these emissions will also grow. And this is why we feel that it is important in order to address the clean air issue, the energy efficiency issue, the way to go is with electric. And as TNB, of course, this is something that is absolutely good for us. Now, I think Thierry in the morning did say about the convergence of the electric infrastructure and mobility. Now, let me put forward to you another idea. It is actually a convergence of three huge things. Three industries that maybe 50 years ago or 30 years ago were not talking to each other, and now they are coming together in a way that none of us can even foresee. Now, we are very familiar with our electrical infrastructure. We have grown with it for the past 60 years. ICT division, you are the ones who are leading us into the information age, the information infrastructure. I think we have a good infrastructure of that within TNB itself. But now comes the mobility and transportation infrastructure. We are used to looking at trains that are being operated by electricity. Now, it is just a matter of time before the trains spill over to the buses, spill over to the cars, spill over to the motorcycles. How are we going to deal with that when all these things come together, and at the same time there is also a convergence between all these three huge industries all coming together and trying to position something that is something totally new for us to really capitalize on. That is the first disruption. The second one, and I think this is also spoken about this morning, people disconnecting from the grid. Now, if you look at the left side of it, this is how things are done right now, traditionally. You have huge petrol tanks underground at the petrol station, you fill up, and off you go. What will happen next is, and we are seeing this already now, you've got people with solar on their roof, you've got people with charging stations, huge charging stations in their homes, people installing battery packs. So all these things would require then blockchain in order to handle all of these different energies coming in and being taken away from all these different elements. And what it unlocks is basically people being able to disconnect from the grid entirely. You could charge your car during the day using solar and use that same car to power your home at night, and you never need to ever be connected to the grid. I think Thierry did mention about homes having an autonomy of 3 to 4 days, which I think is perfectly doable now. And with the car, that will certainly help people to disconnect from the grid. How are we going to react on this? This is actually happening right now. Maybe the car is taking a bit more time to pick up, but you can be sure that it is going to happen. Now the third disruptor is, I found this picture somewhere, I can't remember where from, but I found it quite ironic because what the age that we're looking at now is where the car ends and the iPad on wheels actually begins. Because we're no longer talking about a car. Autonomous driving, these are cars that drive themselves. They will come and pick you up and drop you off to where you need to be, and they will sort themselves out. They are electric, they will also charge themselves when they need to and be where you need them to be. And there's a lot of things, a lot of development that are also happening in terms of the customization, in terms of the performance of the cars. And they're also connected to the internet, and you'll probably end up not having to buy a car at all. And instead, what you'll be purchasing is probably mobility as a service instead of purchasing a car. Imagine a world where you no longer have to buy a car, but what you need is just a mobile app that will summon your car. I mean, some of you probably are doing that now already. You could probably, not have to drive here, just take Grab and come here. A few years from now, maybe the Grab would probably be an autonomous car. No one is driving that car. And you come here and it'll be an electric car. The car will charge itself wherever it needs to be. And that's a totally different way of doing it. But at the heart of it all, what do these things need? They will still need electricity. So this is where our role is to actually prepare ourselves in order to face all these new disruptions. Now, this is another proposition that I'm putting forward to you. With all these things that are coming in, perhaps one of the best things that we could do is look into how we can cross-subsidize things. We have been selling electricity, we have been in the electricity business for so long. We are very good at making money from that electricity business. The broadband business, I think ICT division has also cracked the code there. I think we can make a healthy amount of money from that. Now these two very healthy businesses could probably be used to cross-subsidize some of the other new things. Blockchain, as we heard this morning, is not really making much money or making any money at all. But in order for us to put our foot in there as the pioneer, as the ones who are creating the waves, perhaps you could cross-subsidize some of these things. And once you do that, we could cross-sell items to our customers, offer them other items as well. Our home energy management system. These are one of the things that we can offer to our customers in order to keep them attached to us, keep them interested in us. And later on, of course, we can upsell, we can help G-Spark sell their solar solutions, creating even more opportunities for all of us. Now, it is also important to link up the whole thing. I've spoken about the convergence of the three industries, the electricity industry, the ICT, and the mobility. But these are just industries, but what is close to the hearts of people, for people like you and me, basically kilowatt hours. We can't live without those kilowatt hours. All of us pay for those kilowatt hours. Sometimes we're not very happy paying for it, but we still pay for it. Some of us are keen to find out about what green kilowatt hours that we can obtain now. We put solar on our roof so that we do our bit for the environment. We use home appliances. Some of us go to Harvey Norman and start buying smart appliances, I think. And these are the things that we look for, and we don't mind paying a bit more for it. Broadband, I think all homes now have broadband. And mobility, this is something that the first thing that you think about when you start work is buying a new car. Security is also extremely important to us, and also in community services. Now, what is important to the customer for us is to actually link up all these things and park them under probably an umbrella of electricity. Because all these things, in one way or another, would be linked to electricity. Now, if we can do some sort of cross-subsidy, some sort of cross-selling, some sort of upselling, in order to cover all these things that are important to the customer, that would be ideal. And once we do that, then blockchain would be really, really required. And you could see the effects of why you really need blockchain to do this. Otherwise, we are used to things that you don't really need blockchain to do a lot of the normal things. Just push out the bill and people will pay for the bill. It's no problem. But once you link up all these things together, imagine a world where that one bill incorporates all your normal kilowatt hours, your green kilowatt hours, your mobility charges, your even security charges, all in one single TNB bill. I'm very sure that you need blockchain to do all that. Alright, so I think that is all from me. I hope some of you may be convinced to move to electric mobility, hopefully. I know that it's slim pickings in this country. You can't really buy a plug-in car for anything less than 200,000, which is a pity. But you can pray for the third national car, hope that can be the electric car for the rakyat. And otherwise, have that dream, have that spirit in you. Why? Because it is important to us. It will help you come out. It will help you clean up the air. It will help you to be more energy efficient. It will also help you become a very good global citizen in addressing climate change. And with that, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Azrin. And